problems. So it's really about partnering up with people that can provide effective solutions. You know, as I said, when you're talking about some of these smaller spaces, huddle spaces, microphones that are up front, they work fine, and that's great for that application. But as you get into more larger spaces and more complex, you need an audio solution. I'm sure we've all heard it where somebody is too far away from a sound bar and nobody can understand what's being said. And that's where devices like our ceiling array come in. Ours is the smaller one up here. There's actually several up here, but ours is the AT&T 1061. It looks actually a lot like a wireless hotspot. And so it blends in with the room very well. But it can provide a coverage of 5 meters in radius. So it can actually cover a very large area. So this is now where you can take these MAXHUB devices, all these MTR devices, and you can really expand beyond that small room space. Because, like you said, you have these Windows-based machines. These things are already ready to run that. So now all you do is you can add in our microphone, and in this case, we actually integrate with QSYS, with the QSC products, which are actually with the Audio-Technica microphone and the QSYS, that is a team-certified solution. And you can connect right in here, and you can take this from a small room solution to a large room solution with really no issues at all. I have to admit we're winging this completely, so I have no idea how we got here, but this is how we got here. So this is this thing going to play with me? It's not going to play nice, is it? So I'm obviously not a computer guy, I'm an audio guy. So this microphone, the way this works, and the advantage of having a microphone like this is because you can zone out places. You can control how the microphone picks things up, where it picks up and where it doesn't pick up. So I can say, okay, it's more important for me to create zones to cover you guys up front, but maybe not the people in the back. Or maybe we don't want to catch reflections coming off of it. So you can very easily go in and control it with the DSP that's built into it. You know, all of our DSP that's built into this is built around the audio side of things. None of this is video. This is just getting all the audio together, automatically mixing when different people are talking to get a gain sharing mix so the people at the opposite end can hear a very clean, clear audio. One of the problems that you're faced with when you go with some of these simpler solutions is when you have rapid talking back and forth. Say we have someone down at this end talking and back and forth like this. Oftentimes these systems have trouble going back between people. So we have 6 beams that are available for this microphone. So we can have one here in standby and one down here, and up to 6 total to be standing by ready for someone to talk and then to open up. So, you know, this really brings the room into a much more functional piece. It actually adds a lot more, expands the audio on it, and then you can couple it with some of these big screens here, and then and then really go crazy. So, but no, it's been great to work with the guys here at MAXHUB. One of the things that we do, this is not. We don't just look at specs and decide, oh yeah, that ought to work just fine. We actually test these things out. We have a lab back in Ohio. These guys have our gear with them to test it out. So we've actually tested these solutions, made phone calls with these solutions to make sure they work. So, so that's really how we're working together on that. And like I said, I'm winging it, so I hope that's, I hope that answered it. Yeah, and that's, of course, there's like 28 slides on that. I'm not going to go through all those, but you know, I'm happy to answer any questions though, if anyone has any questions on it. So, no.
Maybe they just don't know what they need to ask you.
Well, oftentimes that's the case. Is you're not really sure, and obviously you can stop by Audio-Technica's booth. I mean, we're just up the steps and down there to the end, you know, and you know, we can go into details on this. We also have phone calls set up with the other end that's running live all day there so that you can hear things. In our lab back there, we have probably not that MTR device, but we have the simpler one. And then we also have one of the screens with the computer built into it. So yeah, so we have all that stuff that we've tested back in the lab. So I wish I could have had a chance to make a call from here, but they're already doing a call down there. So.
They got an MTR. We just need to get the retail address.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. Yeah. So.
You said it was 5 meters in either direction?
Yeah, it's a radius. You got a hemispherical coverage of 5 meters. So.
If
You can actually, and the software can support up to 20. So you can actually, and what's really cool about that is you can actually kind of connect them together as a distributed DSP system to still only do one feed to bring back down again. So, you know, that again, we're trying to keep this simple and easy to set up. So yeah, absolutely.
The setup's done through a laptop, send some test signals.
Well, usually you're going to do it with voice, but it is set up through the laptop. You got a top-down view, and you'll see, you know, the circle of coverage. Like I said, I'll fast forward through these. So you can do a top-down look here. You can see how big that big circle there is representative of that 5-meter radius. And then, I'm going to grab the wrong one here. And then you can start to place these zones. You know, you just draw these squares in over these seats or wherever to say, okay, I want beam number 1 to pick up this big area here as kind of a backup. And then I want beam number, how do we get them at 2 to do this one, and 3 and 4. And it's very easy to set that up. And also when when this is live, if I'm talking or you have somebody sitting in a seat talking, you'll see a little dot that represents where that voice is coming from. So you can then fine tune that all from there. Very easy to set up.
So what's the difference between a coverage zone and a priority zone?
So a coverage zone and a priority zone, their differences is the way our coverage zones work is, to me, is kind of like a catch-all kind of thing. So, for example, we've got one coverage zone and one priority zone. So let's just say the CEO is sitting in this seat right here. You always want to have a beam ready for that individual. So you assign a priority beam to that seat so that no matter what, people start talking back and forth, this individual is always going to have the ability to talk and have their own channel for them. So that's kind of the difference. And the coverage zone is kind of a backup. It's for the people in the back who want to talk maybe, but that beam has to share through all that. We just need to make sure the people up front or wherever, the important seats have their priorities. So now it's got 32 elements in it. So there's 32 microphone elements in there that all go together into these algorithms to create 6 beams, up to 6 beams. And these 6 beams, I mean, let's face it, let's say we're doing a room this size, and I got 6 beams, and I've got them all set up for these 6 individuals in the front, which I could easily do that. Problem is, if all 6 of these guys start talking at the same time, you're not going to understand what's going on anyway. So it's just, it's never going to work trying to put that down a pipe. But you do have the ability to control where the microphone beam is pointing and what its level is. And that's the key to capturing any audio application. Control where it's pointing and how loud it is. And that's what you're doing by drawing these zones. You're saying, that beam will only ever point at this person, and it's only ever going to come on when he speaks. So that's how that comes into play.
So if you had a room, because every room has a door, hopefully.
Oh yeah, yep.
So if you had a room with the door there, and we didn't want to pick that up when people were walking in and out, could we exclude?
And that's actually a perfect application, because oftentimes you'll have a meeting space like this where maybe they leave the door open and somebody's walking by outside and they're talking on the phone, and that's an application where a beam could sense that voice, and instead of being focused, it shifts off because it hears somebody out there. So part of the whole thing is just put the beam zones where you want them, but you can also put what we call an exclusion zone around that door. And so we say, hey, I don't care if you absolutely know it's a voice coming from somebody standing outside that door. Do not be fooled to go over there. And so that's where you can start to control your, again, where your microphone is pointed and what the level is. Well, so you will need to do an individual home run to each one. So, and it is PoE. It's not PoE Plus. It's a pretty lightweight device when it comes to that. So you've got a single connection that's going to handle Dante signal, PoE, and of course network control. But you can go into a split cable mode where you have one jack, which is PoE and Dante, and the other one is network control for those situations where you need to separate control and audio. So, and of course, then what you're taking back is you're taking your Dante audio back through something like the QSys core and things like that, and that's where you can do more processing with things. And of course, that's also going to function as your bridge to go into the MAXHUB device, which is going to be a simple USB connection. And you know, once you've got that USB connection into MAXHUB, it's pretty much game over there. It's easy to do. So, cool.
So besides like the ceiling tiles, what else do you guys have?
Well, that list is pretty long.
I guess, let's go with what are your biggest things that customers like the most, or
So what you'll find out is there's a couple of different situations. I mean, people love this kind of application because it's easy, it gets the solution up off the table. But there are circumstances where that may not work. You know, maybe you've got a very high ceiling or something like that, and there's just no easy way to hang something. And so we've got other devices that we have, like, for example, our engineered sound wireless devices, which will also go Dante into this very same kind of QSC core and still go in and connect, and we have tested that as well. So we've got wireless solutions that can go on the tabletops, like a gooseneck wireless system, or a boundary, or a handheld, which this is not. I want to make sure I cover the logo on this. This is not one of them. This is not an Audio-Technica mic, but that's okay. But you can do handheld mics, belt pack mics, and kind of things like that. So for meeting space solutions, that's usually what you'll see is you'll see people going with a wireless solution like that, engineered sound wireless. That's one way to go with things. People love to have this solution up here in the ceiling, but there certainly are a lot of ways to do that. But those are the two most common things that I see.